And joining me now, Congressman Ted Lieu, California Democrat who sits on the House Judiciary Committee. And thank you so much for being with me, Congressman. So let's start with this. 81 people getting letters like these. I've been looking through them today. I got Mr. Kushner's and Donald Trump Jr.'s here. What's your response to people who say, look, all you're doing is fishing?
Thank you, Aaron, for your question. Let me first say that I hope our investigation turns up no wrongdoing, because I don't want to think that we have a criminal in the White House. But I fear that our investigation is going to expose some wrongdoing. We're going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to connect the dots if they are to be connected. And we want to hear from these individuals and get their documents and then tell the American people what happened.
So, Chairman Nadler was telling me you're going to subpoena, you're going to do whatever it takes. So if any of these 81 don't comply, you're going to go all the way to the mat?
That's correct. And a number of them did not work in the White House, or they were not senior White House advisors, so they can't claim executive privilege. There really is no reason that they shouldn't produce these documents. We expect to get most of the documents, and we've asked for an expedited investigation, so we're asking for these documents within 2 weeks.
Wow, within 2 weeks. Okay, so they don't have a lot of time to do this. I mean, when I spoke to Chairman Nadler, he was saying, look, this is not a pre-impeachment hearing. That was the words he used. Like, that's not what this is. So I guess what I'm wondering is, if it's not pre-impeachment, what do you say to people who say, okay, fine, but this is death by 1,000 cuts. You're just trying to bloody the president with blow after blow after blow because you don't think you can succeed with impeachment?
Well, let me first say that the special counsel investigation is narrow in its scope, which is basically that anyone committed crime related to Russian interference. The House Judiciary oversight responsibility is far broader. There are 3 things we want to know. Did Donald Trump, his associates, or his family members commit any crime? Second, did they do anything that was unethical or misconduct, whether or not it rises to the level of crime? And third, how do we show this to the American people? So we're just exercising our oversight responsibilities. We all took an oath of office. We're part of a separate and co-equal branch of government, and we're going to act like it.
So Sarah Sanders has just come out with a statement tonight, Congressman Lieu, and she describes this investigation as disgraceful and abusive. Your allegations as tired and false that have already been investigated by the special counsel, so obviously taking issue with your description of it as being narrow, and she references committees in both chambers. She calls it a fishing expedition. What's your response to the press secretary?
Many of these issues we're looking into have not been investigated by the special counsel because it's not within his mission. And if you look at what happened in Watergate, Nixon was impeached not because he did the substantive crime of stealing from the DNC. He was impeached for the cover-up, a totally separate offense. And that's what we want to know. Did Donald Trump engage in corruption, abuse of power, or obstruction of justice? And we're going to take the facts wherever it may lead us, and we hope to get these documents soon.
So when Sarah Sanders says the Democrats are not after the truth, they are after the president, you say no.
We haven't been able to investigate because for the last 2 years, the Republican-controlled Congress stopped us from doing so. This is really the first time that the House of Representatives is conducting investigations to seek the truth. And if the White House and Sarah Sanders and Donald Trump did nothing wrong, they would not fear what the truth is going to show.
Congressman, I want to ask you also about the developing news on the Mueller investigation, or at least it certainly appears very relevant to it. The Justice Department officially announcing that the Attorney General, our new Attorney General, Bill Barr, will not recuse himself from overseeing the Mueller investigation. Obviously, the ethics panel had looked into it. They had not recommended that he recuse. Do you see any reason why he should?
Well, Bill Barr did write basically a pretty lengthy memo saying that he didn't think the president could commit obstruction of justice. He then reversed himself during the Senate hearings. I will take him at his word that he has reversed himself and that he will look at these facts objectively. But one reason that the House Judiciary Committee has to go forward these investigations is because the Department of Justice has taken the position that a president cannot be indicted. I disagree with that, but that is their internal decision. And if a president can't be indicted, and then they have this separate policy that says, well, you can't say any bad things about someone if they haven't been indicted, then it's going to turn out we aren't going to get really any information from the special counsel's investigation. That's why the Judiciary Committee has to go forward.
Okay, so I'm curious why, whether you think we're going to get information or not. The former FBI Director Jim Comey's just come out with an op-ed in the Washington Post. I don't know if you saw it, but he's arguing for transparency from Mueller, and the operative quote, I think, Congressman, is, quote, providing detailed information about a completed investigation of intense public interest has long been a part of Department of Justice practice. It doesn't happen often, but department tradition recognizes that transparency is especially important where polarized politics and baseless attacks challenge law enforcement's credibility. So it is now going to be Barr's call, ultimately, for whether the American public sees this. Are you saying you don't think that he will allow us to see it?
I hope Attorney General Barr allows Congress and the American people to see the full report, especially, again, if they take the position that a sitting president cannot be indicted, then really Congress is the only institution that can hold the president accountable. And if we don't have the information, we can't do that. So either they have to reverse their policy that a president can't be indicted, or they've got to give the full report to Congress.
So I also want to ask you about other committee you sit on, Foreign Affairs, along with Oversight and Intelligence, requesting communications between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. Now, of course, President Trump has been trying to hide these communications from his own team, right, when it comes to what his translators actually heard. Do you think you'll actually get access to this information?
I hope we do. First of all, it's bizarre that the American president would have a meeting with the Russian president and former KGB agent with no American staff in the room. And then second, to not tell his staff what happened. And third, to try to prevent any documents from coming out as to what happened at that meeting. I hope we do get those documents because those actions are very suspicious.
All right. Thank you very much, Congressman. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Aaron.